Welcome everyone to another Lake Lewis Jr. show. Appreciate you joining me as always. And it was a big win for the Washington Commanders in Arizona yesterday. And we're going to break that down. You know, we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about in today's program. This is episode number 5. Can you believe it? We've already had a month of episodes and we literally have moved into our 5th episode. So I greatly appreciate everybody literally for, riding this one out and waiting for the name change to the show and all these good things. And really excited about the direction everything's going. So I'm excited about the direction that the Washington Commanders are going as well. And we're going to talk about today that your eyes are not deceiving you, my friends. And I know some of you are like, oh man, should I be excited about this? So we're going to talk about why you should be excited. So I'm going to take you to church today because in the past, let's face it, that's the only thing you used to get excited about on Sundays was going to church, if you did go to church. Well, we're going to take you to church today and we're going to exercise some demons for you. We're going to let you know it's okay to forget about the past because it was a lot to, that you could forget about, but there really wasn't anything of utter importance to forget about. Okay. We know about the change of the name and, the branding and all that. But I've always said this. If you have a good product on the field on Sundays, fans will come and they will forget, about the hurt and the things that went on in the last regime. They'll forget those things because they're going to want to forget about it. They're not going to want to hold on to that. And I think a lot of the fan base, unfortunately, in Washington, they hold on to it because they've been fooled before. They've seen good starts that fizzled out. They've seen exciting young players that got injured and things, drastically took a turn for the worse. But I'm trying to let you guys know now that this is different and we're going to break that down. As always, if you want to follow me, you can follow this program on social media. You can subscribe to it on YouTube where you can watch it. You can go to sportsjourney.com where you can watch it. And you can subscribe to it in audio form on the likes of Spotify, Apple Music, Google, iHeartRadio, you name it, it's on there. So all you have to do is look up the Lake Lewis Jr. show and subscribe. And the subscriptions have gone up drastically over the past month for this program. So once again, kudos to you guys out there for making this happen. When you go back to over the years, there was always a lot of hope that was being sold. Okay. And I think for most people that are old like myself that can remember the good old days in Washington, I'm from DC, was born and raised there. My mom's family, everyone's from there, father, North Carolina, a little different, but everyone's from DC. And to be able to know the history of, the Redskins, now it's the Commanders, of course, but to know the history of Washington's football team, literally, it was good times for a while when I was a kid. I remember not knowing what it was like for this to be, as the young people say, a famine program. I don't know what that was like because growing up, my godparents worked at RFK Stadium. I used to go to the games as a little boy. I used to be on the field. I used to see things. And then, naturally, middle school through high school, hell, through my first year at Penn State, this team was competing for Super Bowls. And I think that a lot of people, if you're younger, you get tired of us old heads talking about that. But I say this to you out of respect because I understand the suffering that you've been going through. I sincerely feel bad for the fan base of this team that hasn't seen anything sustained that's good. I do. I feel horrible for you. But guess what? I can't feel horrible for you anymore. Because you have an opportunity to finally see what good football looks like. You have an opportunity to finally see what a difference maker on the field can do for your franchise. And that difference maker is Jayden Daniels. What you're seeing with your own eyes is not lying to you. You're not being deceived. It's not a mirage. It's not a fluke. It's real. This kid is that talented that he's taking the league by storm. And more importantly, in-house, he's making 52 other guys understand they have a chance. Every freaking weekend, they have a chance. And the reason why they have a chance, my friends, is because when your quarterback, which is the most important position in all of sports, if you have a game-changing play-wrecking quarterback out on the field, and he has a chance to be the best player on the field or no worse than the second best player, you're going to win football games. You're going to win football games by default because that's how this league runs. When you have that difference maker behind center, you're going to win games. And now you're witnessing Washington finally has one. For my money, Jayden Daniels, this is the first time this franchise has had just that, a franchise quarterback. This is the first time I've ever seen a franchise quarterback. No disrespect to Mark Rippon, Doug Williams, and Joe Theismann. All really good quarterbacks. Joe Theismann, I think, won an MVP one year. But they weren't franchise players in Washington. I'm not saying Doug couldn't have been that in Tampa at one point, but I'm saying in Washington, Doug won his Super Bowl, is a legend, is my guy. Personally, that's my dude. But as far as sustaining franchise quarterback, 10, 15 years under center, Washington's never had that. You could go back to the days of Sonny Jurgensen and say that he was a franchise caliber talent. But to me, yes, Sonny, was a Redskin, but he was drafted by the Eagles. He had success in Philadelphia before he even came to Washington in a trade. So to me, again, franchise quarterback. Franchise quarterbacks most of the time aren't traded for. Franchise quarterbacks most of the time are drafted, developed, blossom under the team that took them. And to me, that's Jayden Daniels. This kid is a franchise quarterback, and it's tailor-made and written all over him. And he's proving it by his production on the field. When was the last time you can honestly say, my friends, that a Washington Commanders or a Washington football team, because, we can't keep saying Redskins, but when was the last time you saw a player in the burgundy and gold that was sheer dominance, was literally the best player on the field, and you didn't even doubt it? Well, you look at the past 4 games for the Washington Commanders. Was Jayden Daniels the best player on the field in the most important positions, I mean? Was he the most important player and best player on the field yesterday against the Cardinals? You bet you know what he was. He outperformed Kyler Murray. I know the defense had a lot to do with that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on because we're going to have former Washington receiver Anthony Armstrong joining me, and we're going to get his take on what he's seeing with this offense. And is he, looking ahead to positive play now? We're going to also have Bob Matthews and DJ Bland on. They come on with me on Mondays to help do a recap as well. They're from sportsjourney.com. You can check them out there. But when was the last time? So yesterday, yes, Jayden was the best player on the field. Go back last week against Cincinnati. Yeah, Joe Burrow had 300-plus yard game, dissecting Washington's defense, but he lost, and he was home in a must-win game. So to me, no, Jayden Daniels was the best player on the field in Cincinnati on Monday night. Go before that, okay? New York Giants at home against Washington. The best player in that game, if you want to make a real argument, it was Austin Siebert, the kicker, because he had seven field goals. So I might be able to say, you know what? But we're talking about a kicker, and no offense to kickers out there. We love you if you're doing your job. But as far as the most important positions on the field, Jayden Daniels was the best player on the field. Maybe you can make an argument if you're a Giants fan from Malik Neighbors because he had a great game that game too. The only game that I sincerely say that Jayden wasn't the best player on the field, but he was the second best player on the field, was the Week 1 opening loss on the road against Tampa Bay. I thought Baker Mayfield had one of the best games of his career, at least one of the best games he ever had in Tampa. He was the best player on the field that day, but Jayden was second. And guess what? Washington didn't win the game, but you saw with your own eyes something that was there, something special. Fast forward now. We're approaching 5 weeks later. Come Sunday, it's 5 weeks later, and your eyes have not deceived you, folks. If you want to put this in perspective, the Washington Commanders are talked about now as lead stories on most major outlets. On most major outlets that speak football, they're leading the charge as far as the conversation. The Ravens had a big win last night, just destroying Buffalo and Baltimore right up the road from Washington. And still, on some outlets, is Jayden Daniels in Washington, are they really this good? Are they the cream of the crop in the NFC East? Would you take Jaden Daniels as your quarterback over Dak Prescott, over Jalen Hurts, over Daniel Jones in the NFC East? Those are questions that are being flown or floated around out there. That tells you everything you need to know about what your eyes are seeing. Yeah, it's real. I tweeted that yesterday. It's real, DC. So yes, let's go to church now. Let's go to church. Give yourself a chance to, exercise the demons. Let the past go, folks. I understand, my friends. Trust me. I understand how bad it's been. This is what I do for a living. I cover that. So you don't think you seeing it on TV or in the stands was bad? Imagine being in the locker room. Imagine being out on the field with these guys every day and having to talk about it. It's so refreshing this year to be in the locker room and be out there with these guys, and it's just a different vibe in the building. I have great conversations with guys, not even about football, just about activities, life. Bobby Wagner, we have great conversations every day in the locker room. It's a different vibe. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is it's okay to finally let it go. Right here in my own house, my better half, bless her heart, does an awesome job as the in-game host for the Commanders, of course, Janine Samuels. That's my better half. Well, listen, she's even like, after last night, get back in, she's like, is this really happening? Like, is it really happening? She's so excited for this football team, but she's guarded, just because of the losing over the years and being let down. And I told her, I said, listen, babe, this is different. This is different. It's different because it's a different ownership group. It's different management. It's a different coach. And you have something you've never seen with your own eyes as a fan of the burgundy and gold, a franchise quarterback. I'm telling you, we saw it for a year with Robert. And I remember the excitement of 2012. They had that magical run. And then we know about the injury. But this is different. And I'm telling you the reason why it's different, because although Robert took the league by storm in 2012, the guy upstairs still running the team was still a curmudgeon. Let's just call it like it is. You still had Dan Snyder upstairs. So it wasn't too different. You had hope on the field, but not hope in the front office. Not hope that people would treat people the right way and do the right things by the franchise. Well, that's not Josh Harris. Josh Harris, first class guy. He's trying to do everything right for you, the fans. He's trying to do good things for us in the media. Hell, brings food into the media room on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Have a chef cook for you on Thursdays. I'm saying these things are different. That's why you have something now that you've never had. Not just a franchise quarterback, not just a serviceable, really good general manager who was the boy wonder known around the league that he was going to be the next guy up to be the next great GM, and Adam Peters and Washington and Josh Harris get him. So you're seeing now his vision as far as the type of players that he wants. You're seeing a guy like Jeremy McNichols yesterday, technically the third string running back, have a huge monster game. You're seeing the young players start to develop right in front of your eyes. Jaden's already doing his thing, but now Luke McCaffrey's making plays. You saw Ben Sinnott out there knocking heads off on special teams. You're seeing some of the younger players start to make their names be felt. This is what you want if you're the Washington Commanders, folks. I'm telling you, it's a new day. So I'm going to say they have something else that none of us, even myself in the media, before that as a fan growing up, okay? None of us had expectations. We all had hope. So whenever I hear fans out there and they're still coming to me saying, I don't know, I feel hopeful. There's hope that this thing can turn around. Stop. You shouldn't have hope anymore. I think what you've seen over the last 3 games, albeit they haven't beaten any dynasties, they haven't beaten teams with winning records, they beat some teams that they should have beaten. And guess what? They did that. And now they're starting to beat people down. That's something that we've never seen. So I'd like to rephrase things now by saying, stop saying you have hope. Exercise those demons, folks. Let the past go. It's over. It's gone. It's a new day if you're a Washington Commanders fan. And I say this to you respectfully, my friends. You deserve to feel good about this. After all the nonsense and crap that you've been watching and witnessing and dealing with, and now you see this and you don't want to open your eyes. You're afraid. You're afraid to say, oh my God, this thing could be pretty good. Stop. Enjoy your Sunday afternoons now because you're going to be entertained. If anything, you have hope. No, you have expectations now because now you have players that are starting to believe in themselves. You have a team that's playing for each other. You have a team that you can see right in front of your eyes have a different culture. There's no debating it. There's no questioning it. There's no feeling bad that you see something good. Stop it. Because you know what? If you want these players to embrace a new culture and a new change and a new way to play football and win some games for once and be consistent about it, you have to do the same thing as a fan. You have to. You have to stop living in the past. I know 25 years is an ingraining experience where it's just singed in your brain that the wheels are going to fall off eventually. I get it. I truly get it. But you can't think that way anyway, my friends. You got to let that go. You got to say this team's 3-1 in the NFC East. No one thought that was possible early in the year. No one thought that. In the offseason, it was this team's going to have a bright future, but they're going to have growing pains right now, and they're going to have a rookie quarterback that's probably going to struggle out the gate. Not only is this rookie quarterback not struggling, he's already been the NFC Rookie of the Week, probably going to get that award again, was already the NFC Player of the Week. And now you're going to start hearing grumblings about, can a rookie be in an MVP race? They keep winning games, and he keeps performing. You're going to have another storyline that you've never seen here. And I keep saying this, my friends. This franchise has been devoid of elite talent. And I'm not knocking any players. I have great relationships with a lot of these guys and even better relationships with some of the former guys. Guys been to my house for dinner. Kids play with mine. But I'm saying this. When you go back through the last 20 years, the names of Trent Williams jump off the chart. A generational tackle. Everyone knows that. First ballot Hall of Famer when he hangs it up. Okay? You had a Deshaun Jackson, who was probably the best deep ball receiver maybe in history. That's what he did. And he took the top off defenses and he did it at an alarming rate. And he did it in Washington. Okay? Jordan Reed, I thought, was a special talent. I thought he could be really good, but obviously career was a little derailed because of the concussions. But you had really good football players here. Santana Moss, really good football player. You had Clinton Portis. You had Ryan Kerrigan. You had some really, really good football players. But when you talk about guys that are going to be expected now to be perhaps faces of the league, I mean, you can think of Robert at one point was on his way, was to becoming a face, a young gun. And obviously we know the history there, and it didn't work out, didn't happen, the injuries and you know, whatever else went on, didn't happen. Okay? The only guy that I can think of that brought that kind of fear and demanded that kind of respect on the field in modern times, it was Sean Taylor. It was the late, great Sean Taylor. He was a guy that other teams knew where he was on the field at all times. And some receivers made a point to not venture into that part of the field where he was. So now here we go. You have something now in Jaden Daniels that is elite. Not good, not really good, elite. That's the kind of talent he has. And I'm saying it again so I can singe this into your brains. Elite, folks. Stop being scared to think that. You see it with your own eyes. The numbers don't lie. The stats don't lie. He's got numbers that only two other quarterbacks in the history of 4 starts in the league, first 4 starts, have, and that's Drew Brees and Tom Brady. I mean, you got to really think about this now. I'm not making this up. This isn't to sound good for the show, to make you feel better. This is to tell you the truth. You should feel good. Because there's someone in play now here that we haven't seen. We just haven't seen this kind of talent. at that position. There's been some bad quarterback play in DC, and I mean bad. Okay? Now you have a quarterback that's out here throwing the football around, running past people, making people whiff on tackles. I mean, this guy is floating on people out on the field, sliding past people. Embrace it. My friends, you deserve this. This is for you, Commanders fans. You deserve to be happy, finally. Embrace what you're seeing with these guys because it's a different group. I can attest to that. I can tell you, much different vibe in the locker room, much different vibe being around these guys. And yeah, sometimes we have to say the hard things. I know people were upset because we were saying, Terry McLaurin, is he a one, a true dominant one? It wasn't to knock the kid and say that he can't be. It was to say, you need him to be. You need Terry to be that guy now because guess what? He's done it for the past few years with nothing. And now he's got a dog, an elite caliber quarterback to get him the ball. Now let's see if Terry can take his game to the next level and become that alpha one that's not considered a one in DC. I'm talking about a true alpha elite wide receiver. Not just a really good one, which he is, but an elite one. And for my money, he's showing that he possibly can be that. That's what we're talking about here. John Allen, Daron Payne, not knocking these guys. They're pros, but they weren't getting the job done. Let's call it like it is. And they showed up yesterday and showed out. And guess what? Look at the final score. Look at what the defense did to the Cardinals' high-flying offense. They bottled them up. They shut them down. And that's not a bad offense over there. Don't be fooled by Shane Steichen and what he has. Do not be fooled. Kyler Murray's a really good quarterback. They have a beast rookie in Marvin Harrison Jr. and James Conner's a great young running back. He's not young anymore, but he's still a great running back. They bottled those guys up. Okay? That's what you want to see. And if your defense gives your offense that kind of performance and they match this stuff up like they did, special teams, Austin Seibert, again, booming kicks, knocking them in, doing what he's supposed to do. I mean, you even have weapon on special teams as far as returning the ball. I know Austin Eckler was out yesterday, but when he comes back, he's a threat to take one back every time. He's proven that already. I'm telling you, my friends, again, we're going to end church now, okay? Wanted to take you to church, exercise those demons, tell you it's okay to feel good about this. It's okay. It's okay. You're seeing something special in the making. You're seeing something develop. It's not there yet, but it's getting there. And it's getting there quicker than I think a lot of people anticipated. So enjoy this. Enjoy your Sundays. You deserve it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have former Washington receiver Anthony Armstrong joining me right here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Hang tight. Welcome back, everyone, to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Appreciate you for joining me as always. And again, you can go on YouTube if you want to subscribe to this program. And then if you want to listen to the audio version, you can subscribe to this on pretty much every major podcast carrier, such as Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name a few, and it's on there. So as promised, I'm bringing in former Washington Redskin wide receiver, Mr. Anthony Armstrong. And I couldn't wait to get you on today because your guys look kind of scary right now. Is it just me saying this, or are you seeing the same thing?
Now these boys looking good, man. They looking good, man. This household was jumping. I'm over here singing "Hail to the Commander." I mean, it was exciting to see how they handled this game and handled Arizona. Thanks for having me, Lake. I mean, dude, look, they just came off of an emotional win, probably one of the bigger wins in franchise history, last 2 weeks ago. On the road, Monday Night Football, beating Joe Burrow, comeback fashion.
Mhm.
That was big. Then they go on the road, and Arizona's not an easy team, right?
No,
Arizona's not an easy team, so they get on the road and they absolutely wear those guys out. I mean, from the beginning to the end, offense, defense, special teams. There had to be some speech that happened out there in Arizona and at Arizona State because the defense was showing up. It looked like a completely different secondary. Everybody was different. I love to see it.
You said this. Arizona is not an easy place to play, and then you think about the fact that it's two consecutive games on the road. They didn't even come back to Virginia, after Cincinnati. they immediately flew out to Arizona, a coaching tactic that obviously worked because they looked fresh. They looked like there was no time, layover or anything like that. When you see what this team is doing, yesterday was a total back alley slapping. That's what I called it. They dismantled the Cardinals. Is it time for fans? And I said this before I brought you on. I took the fans to church, Anthony. I told them it's okay to exercise the demons. You can put the past behind you because they have something now that they never had where you feel like it's something sustainable. And to me, you were here when Robert was here, so you remember the hoopla and all that stuff. But Jaden Daniels is different. There's no comparisons between the two, if you ask me. He's different, and he has the one thing that Robert did not have going for him. Well, he has two things. He's a superior pocket passer. But the other thing is the organizational structure is set up for Jaden to be successful. How impressed are you with that right now?
Man, with the structure or with Jaden, or just which
With
part?
both.
I mean, look, everything that Adam Peters has done has hit.
Right.
I did a video, an episode a while ago solo. It just hit my head. I was like, the next 3 to 5 years could be special for this team. It reminds me of the Sports Illustrated article. It had before the Astros went on their run, like somebody wrote an article and said this is going to be the World Series champion in this many years.
Mhm.
Washington could be down that road if these pieces are hitting. And right now, the most important one is hitting, and that's Jaden Daniels. The way that he's processing, it's absolutely it's outstanding to see how he's just jumped in the game and is already doing it. Simple or not, Cam Taylor Britt. I don't care. The guy is producing. Okay. You're getting everything out of Jaden Daniels. And we came into the season thinking the offensive line was going to be an issue. I think Jaden's helped alleviate some of those pressures. I think the play calling has alleviated that pressure, and plus the running game. I mean, that the O line is playing probably one of the top O lines in the game right now. So I can understand how if you've been in a bad relationship for 25 years, it's pretty tough to think that this dog is different than the last one. But I feel like this one's different. It feels different. It's
You know what
something
your
about
eyes
it.
are, you know what your eyes are seeing, man.
I yes, and I was reading on Twitter. Des Bryant has been talking about it for a while, and he was going on a rant. I saved him. I've learned how to save something on Twitter. I bookmarked it or whatever. Des is going on saying he's like, man, look, something going on up there in Washington. All right. And to be able to do such a huge turnaround in the personnel, the coaches, and literally the entirety of the organization outside of changing the name.
Hmm.
That's the word. Put that on the back burner. Y'all about to be
Thank you.
getting
I
some
said that
W's.
earlier. It doesn't, the name is a moot point now because
Put
when
that
you
in the
win
past.
games, and it's so fitting to hear Jaden is in command, and
Yeah.
you hear all these no puns intended, well, they're
Yeah.
puns and they are intended. So I'll say this, Anthony, that I think is really important for fans to understand, and you just hit on it. Yeah, what you've seen the last 25 years has it's been tough. You were part of it as a starter for that team, but you had some success, but it wasn't sustained. This thing looks to me like it's only going to get better. There's no smoke and mirrors with this. You have a player at the most important position on the field that at worst is only going to be the second best player on the field every Sunday. Most of the time, he's been proving that he's best fit player on the field. I think you go back to the Tampa game, Anthony. That's the only game I say Baker was the best player on the field that day. Jaden
Yeah.
was second best. But since then, if you're gonna maybe somebody might throw Austin Seibert out in the Giants game.
Yeah.
but
I'll
but
give him that.
but you understand what I'm saying. If your
Yeah.
quarterback is one of the best two players on the field every Sunday, you're gonna win football games. That's just the nature of the business.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've been one of those ones who've said, well, hey, build out the team first. And frankly, Adam Peters was able to build out the team and get the quarterback all in one shopping trip. Like very rarely does that happen. Y'all know how it is. Yeah, your wife sends you to the store, you come back and you're missing something, right?
Just get it
Adam
done.
got it all. Adam got it all, right? And I can say that as the season progresses, you got to give love to Cliff Kingsbury and how they're operating this offense because
Mhm.
they're getting the most out of everybody. Like the
Yeah.
way that Jaden hit 9 receivers.
Yeah.
9 receivers in this last game compared to Kyler's 6. But 9 different receivers, and he was hitting people third, fourth receiver into the read. Like, and I feel like on the touchdown to Terry, I think he purposely waited on Terry. Like he knew that's where he wanted to go. I'm gonna wait, 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 and then just surgically precise
He almost
choose
put,
to
put
hit
that
Terry McLaurin.
Anthony, he almost put that pass in Terry's face mask.
He
It looked
did.
like the ball was stuck on Terry's face mask. He had no choice but to catch it.
Yeah,
You're right. He's seeing things that rookie quarterbacks just don't see. You've played with several rookies, and you've told me at times, it's coming along. It's getting there. This guy's already processing stuff. He's
yeah,
already seeing the field in a major way. I don't know if we've seen what everyone talks about the comps, with Jaden. You talk about Lamar and the running and sometimes Robert. I don't think we've seen his comp before. I don't.
man. Look, man, I feel like sometimes we get caught keeping it skin tone to skin tone whenever we
Yeah,
making comparisons. And
yeah.
so you may have to start to, say he's got some Aaron Rodgers in him, but he has a running ability of a darker skinned brother. You know what I'm saying? Like it's fair to make those comparisons because that's the way he's operating right now. Like I'm recalling the past, I think it was maybe in the third or fourth quarter, he threw it to Terry and it was high and I think it might have been double coverage, but Terry almost caught it.
Yeah.
And they're like, it was on the third down also.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not mad at that throw.
Because no one else was
Why?
going to catch it if Terry didn't.
That's number one. Terry
Right.
was there. It was high enough to where it's like, hey, either Terry gets it, and Terry's made amazing catches like that before.
Mhm.
So I like that trust. And
Right.
as a receiver, I love that trust, man. Throw me
Right.
the ball on third down. Like, hey, what's the
Right.
worst that's gonna happen?
Mhm.
Right? It's interception. We tackle it. We were gonna punt it anyways. Like leave it at that. But I like that throw. And it shows me that he's got the gusto. He's got the cojones to do that. He's like, I'm gonna throw it. I trust my guy. So that right there lets me know he's thinking high level. He's thinking deep, deep into this offense and how it can actually show up in the game. And frankly, when you watch tape, if you watch the routes progress, even after the person threw the ball, you
Mhm.
can see like, well, I think this backside is about to come open. If I
Right.
wait a little
There's
bit
force
longer, the
there.
backside post is there.
Yeah.
So that's next level thinking, and I love to see that he's processing that fast, and it's exciting for Sundays.
And you know what the thing that really surprises me with him is, we knew the kid was great. We everyone knew that, going back even before the draft. You knew that he and Caleb Williams could be the two game changers,
Yeah.
coming. The thing that surprised me more with Jaden, the more you see him, he takes what's given to him as well. Like he normally doesn't get greedy. And he said it yesterday, he got greedy on the interception. He said there was some other things he probably should have done. He recognized that. But for the most part, if it's a check down, he checks down. If it's a route underneath, he gets it to him. If he has to throw that deep ball, he does it. So he's showing you the full arsenal. He's not a one-dimensional quarterback. And then, oh, by the way, he'll tuck it down and run on you. So he's given this team, and I keep saying this today. This is the new word, Anthony. And I keep telling, since I took my listeners and watchers, I took them to church earlier in the first segment. And I told them, stop saying, you're just going to wait and see and you're hoping. Hope is out the window now. There should
It's
be
here.
there should be expectations now because you have the centerpiece that you've never really had. That changes everything for the dynamic of an organization.
You're right. You're right. You can have that faith. Y'all can come outside a little bit. You can come outside. And what's so beautiful is that going back, there was I forget who did the study. It was a study that said Commanders fans are the happiest fans in the NFL. And I had to go out and find the author of it. I tweeted him. I said, how long back did you go for this study? Just out of curiosity. He only went to 2023. So it was just last season.
Yeah, right, right.
So I was like, oh, since that ownership has changed, things have been good. Y'all can come outside, man. The weather's nice. The
Exactly. It's
water is
okay,
nice.
man. I told him go to church, get some holy water, man.
Yes.
The demons can come out now. It's gone because again, as Anthony just said, and folks who are right now here on the Lake Lewis Jr. show here with Anthony Armstrong, my little brother in this thing does a great
Yes,
job with his
sir.
own podcast as well. We'll get that information to you before we close this out. But I've been saying this too, Anthony. fans, I understand the frustrations and just the disappointments and the heartbreaks and the nonsense happening off the field. I truly understand that. But if there was ever a time to feel good about something and feel like you can put your chest out a little bit, it's right now. Like
Yeah.
this is the best I've seen over a 3 game stretch. I don't know. It might be ever.
Yes. I mean, to think just come looking into this season, the first quarter of the year, you're like, 2-2 is probably the worst that
Yeah.
you're probably the best you're looking at. You're 3-1 right now,
Yeah.
right? Atop the NFC East. You've got a quarterback playing out of his mind. Terry's dancing and smiling, right? The pass ratio is perfect.
Mhm.
Like things are hitting right now. And to see the defensive line get to the quarterback too, that lets me know
Right out the
things are
mouth.
really starting to warm up,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So it just as this season grows, I've seen this team win three different ways, right? I always pay attention to how teams win. If they're always blowing people out, that doesn't tell me a lot about a team
Yeah.
because whenever it becomes a little bit scrappy, that's
Mhm.
the team that's going to break.
Yeah.
You've seen this team win from field goals. You've seen this team win in comeback fashion in prime time. And
Mhm.
now you've seen this team go on the road and give somebody a stumping. Now I want to see how you act when you have Cleveland coming in, who's trying to bounce back. They got
With expectations, by the way.
with expectations, a quarterback that's got a lot to prove.
Mhm.
He needs a. I must leave that alone. He's like got a lot to prove. You got Miles Garrett, right? You got to give some love to the offensive line the way they've been handling themselves right now. So
Yeah.
we got some challenges that are coming up to down the road, and I think you get to really see who this team is. And another show had me on. They asked me, what is the identity of this team? I said, physicality,
Yes.
speed and physicality.
Yes.
And it shows up offensively and defensively, especially last week. So if they can keep bringing that week in and week out, you got a lot to be excited for.
Yeah. To me personally, I think these next 2 weeks define their season because Cleveland is a game before the season started. You may have been thinking, okay, that might be a loss
Yeah.
because they have dynamic defense, one of the best players in the league, and Miles Garrett. And you just thought Deshaun Watson would finally, start to play better at that position, considering all the other quarterbacks last year did and took them in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
it's just not, seems like Cleveland hasn't found themselves yet. So if you're Washington, you're getting Cleveland at a good time. You're getting them now, you're home. You've been away for 2 weeks, but you're coming home with all the momentum, feeling good. You want to perform well in front of your fans now. And for my money, I think this weekend's crowd's probably going to be the first time in a long time. The Giants game, it was probably 65-35 Commanders fans. I'm kind of thinking this weekend because of Jaden now, you might be looking at 80-20 Commanders fans,
Hello.
and that should be the thing to get them over the hump. So I'm saying they beat Cleveland, but then I look ahead to the next week.
Yeah.
To me, if there ever was a football game that's must-see TV, it would be Jaden Daniels traveling to Baltimore to take on Lamar Jackson. You
Mm,
can't miss that. That's, I'll be
mm,
sitting right there in the press box waiting for that one.
mm.
That will say a lot because Baltimore is the bully of the block in the NFL.
Yeah.
And if you can go to Baltimore and show something, if you were to be 4-1 and show something in Baltimore,
Yeah.
this thing's ahead of the curve a year ahead.
Hey, look, they're gonna be dancing and doing some go-go in the streets right now, and they're gonna be dancing in the city if that happens. Because I mean, I don't want to go too far ahead. I
No,
don't want to get
I
too
feel
far
you.
ahead
I
because
feel
I
you.
feel you on that. Because I mean, you start to thinking, man, what could be, coming up down the pike. Frankly, let's focus on the first thing.
Yeah, I
Focus
know.
on the
You
first
want to
thing
know
first.
each
Because if
week.
you, because
That's what they say.
here's what
Want to
I'll
know each
say.
week.
Here's what I say. You want to look that far to Baltimore? Derrick Henry, 209 yards, two touchdowns, 24 carries last week. You just gave up 181 to Arizona. So if you want to look that far ahead, fix the run game ASAP. Fix the run defense now, I should say. Run defense. Yeah, because you're gonna get a heavy dose of 22. He's
They're
coming
going they're going to get
downhill.
they're going to run the football this Sunday. That's what
They gonna
Cleveland's
run it
been
too,
doing
but
too.
I'm
Yeah.
saying we
Oh
looking
no.
ahead because if you
Yeah.
think you're gonna beat Baltimore by letting Lamar by letting Derek run all day, that's not gonna happen.
Well, the
You
good
like
thing,
to make Lamar throw it. You
the
got to
good
make Deshaun throw it. Hell,
I was just about to say that the good thing is that they had some success yesterday on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah,
And normally those things, let's face it, if your offense was struggling when you were here, but the defense was carrying the load, you don't want to see that. You don't even want to hear it. You
right.
want to do your part. So yesterday for that defense to pretty much, second half, they almost pitched a shutout. I mean, they
Yeah,
they did what they were supposed to do. You can't help but think that now they're on cloud nine, and you match that up. You're getting strong special teams play, not just from Austin Seibert, but your return game is doing well. Your coverage game is doing well. You were a gunner, you know what that is. So now every facet, they're playing complementary football, ironically. And I'm just saying, man, I don't want to look ahead. I'd be shocked if this team doesn't make the playoffs. I
I,
truly believe
I,
that.
I said that personally coming into it, multiple episodes. I was like, y'all, just if I'm like at the worst, at the best, you win the NFC East,
Mhm.
and I said frankly, it's a division that is up for
Up for
grabs every
grabs.
single year.
Hmm.
So like, I'm not crazy for saying that.
Hmm.
And the way things are looking, we sitting at first. Now, if you flip it and you say, I said, hell, at the worst case, I think they could still, get 7, 8 wins and find themselves into the playoffs. So
Wow.
this is very much on track right now. I mean, like you said, don't look too far, but you're starting to think about it. Is it a first round bye? Like, where are you going to really fall in this thing? So it's going to be interesting to see. I think you got the right amount of veteran leadership to help carry the team, as it gets into this uncharted territory. I mean, this is truly uncharted territory. You got a valiant leader in
Hmm.
Jaden Daniels, who's young and don't know no better.
Right.
But then you got some veterans and you got a lot of experience who've navigated these waters as well, who can tell them what to expect. So it might be the perfect mix, man. This is like this is one of those documentaries you start tracking, and then at the end of the season you release it. And you're like, this is what I've been working on all year.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to be on this ride, man. For it to be a good, a good thing going for right now, not any fake smoke and mirrors thing.
No, it's not. I mean, there's nothing fake about this, and I tweeted that out yesterday. And again, I had some fans saying they're excited, but I also had the fans over here that are like, "Don't do that, Lake. Don't jinx them. They look good for now, but they haven't had any adversity yet." It's like, look,
Bro.
Janine. I said this earlier. Janine, when I got back last night, Janine was just like, is this really real? I'm like, yeah, it is real.
Yeah.
And you have to understand different ownership. This isn't the same old same. It's a different setup. You have a GM that was the boy wonder that everyone knew was the next young gun to become a GM, and Washington gets him. And you have a coach that's had some success as a head coach, not just defensive coordinator. Everyone gives Quinn credit for, but he took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. I mean, there's some success there. And his temperament is the perfect thing for this football team. He's a rah-rah guy. He's a team first guy. You can tell he's letting his guys be themselves, but the one thing that they want on that field is attitude. And it's starting
Yeah.
to slowly come around where now these guys, they may have thought they could be good.
Yeah.
Anthony, you're a player, man. You played, you know. Do they think they're good now? Do they
The way
think they know that they can hang with anyone?
I'm not gonna say anyone.
Hmm.
But I think from the outside in, I'm not gonna say anyone. From
Hmm.
the inside though, they like, okay, all right, now we kind of moving something. You start to feel the boulder move a little bit. You start to
Hmm.
pushing something,
Hmm.
starting to get out of that sunken space that it was. That's where you're at right now with the team. But I was inspired by the defense. One guy I want to point out is Jeremy Chin,
Oh,
right? Because the first 3 games, it was
yeah.
looking very much like
Like what's going
might
on
need to
there?
go find somebody else because
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
every time he hit somebody, the offensive player went backwards. I swear it was. He
yeah.
kept hitting people with behind his pads with a lot of energy and force and violence. And
Hmm.
I'm telling you, Joe Witt must have been up there cussing and spitting and glasses falling off his face because even Emmanuel Forbes was throwing his
Had a
shoulder in
really,
there
he
and.
did. I thought he was gonna break his arm a couple times.
Hey, but you know what though? That's how you have to show up right now. Like as a defensive unit, it takes every single person to show up with an attitude.
Yeah.
And you can't just have one or two guys it. And no, it takes the whole entire unit, all 11, hell, all 16, 17 that Joe Witt is putting out there. All those guys need to show up, and they're doing it. They did it. I'll say this: they did it last week. Now let's see you repeat the effort.
Well, you're maybe you could be a distant cousin. I don't know, but Dorrance Armstrong, big game yesterday
That's
as well.
kinfolk.
Yeah, but I mean, you saw him in Dallas being down there too. That was a big move for them to bring him over, and in the within the division, and he was a guy that had 8.5 sacks last year, with minimal opportunity. So that was big for him, to be able to get what he got for them. So, in wrapping this up. And once again, thanks to Anthony Armstrong for joining us today, breaking down Washington's big win over the Cardinals yesterday. What are you looking forward to going forward as far as this next game coming up against Cleveland?
I was listening to a beautiful uh, audio today with Simon Sinek. He was talking about what's the definition of success. And most of the time, everybody's like, oh, it's Super Bowl or it's just the end goal. And a lot of times it's just consistent progress.
Mhm.
That's what I'm looking for from this team. You've set the standard now as to what you are and what you can be. I got
Mhm.
to see you keep pushing yourself forward, right? Every group has to just grow a little bit, right? The offensive line has surpassed our expectations. Not just find a way to keep getting better, right? How does the defense continue to improve? Are you going to continue that pressure performance that you had last week? Don't let these things be flash in the pans. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be consistent week in and week out. Everybody else has to get up to speed with him. So
Mhm.
that's my expectation. Just some continuous progress from this team. And y'all gonna be dancing some.
Well, look, my friend, I definitely appreciate it, and definitely wanted to get your take on this because you've been with the good and the bad with this organization, and it seems like it's on the up and up, and fans should be excited, as I'm sure you are.
Man, I'm glad that I've been covering the team over the past couple of years,
Mhm.
just from a distance, but covering them nonetheless because it's been good to be reconnected. And then frankly, it's good to be like one of the only former players that's covering the team that's not with the team. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of on the outside looking in and getting to watch it and see how it's being built. And it's cool to show up on Mondays and you go to camps and people are like, man, those commanders looking kind of good, huh? I'm like, yeah,
They're
told
looking
you.
real good, real good. So it's going to get real interesting with the team and you're down in your area. If things keep progressing the way they are right now. So, look, my friend, definitely want to appreciate you. Shout you out for coming on. Let everybody know where they can find your great podcast.
Yes, indeed. Y'all can follow me at Rated Armstrong and follow my podcast at Believe Commanders, BLEAV Commanders. And check us out on all your favorite streaming platforms. Put my reaction pod from this last game that's out. And I got some stuff I'm working on that I want to do moving forward to just provide more of my thoughts and insights with y'all on what's going on with the team. So just stay tuned for that.
Real good stuff, man. It's always great to just see a guy transition to the next part of his life and holding it down, doing well, family guy, just one of my all-time favorites. It's my little brother right here. So we're gonna take a break. So hang in there. We'll be back right here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Once again, I want to thank Anthony Armstrong for coming on today's program. And as we said, this was episode 5. So we're steaming along, and I greatly appreciate all the support everyone's been giving me. And if you want to follow the podcast, again, it's very simple. You can go to YouTube, where you can subscribe to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show on there, or you can go to the likes of Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, you name it. Any podcast carrier in the audio form, and it's on there as well. And then also want to make sure that we give a plug out to some great sponsors who help keep this thing going. Thermopack, one of the leading mouth shields, out there. Some of the players are starting to wear them now around the league, and they're doing some really good things. So make sure you check out Thermopack at thermopack.com. And then, of course, if you want to become a professional cheerleader, and yes, professional cheerleading is taking high demand right now in professional sports. So if you have aspirations to do that, male or female, all you have to do is check out our good friends over at sidelineprep.com. So once again, everyone, thanks again for joining us today. And as always, be safe out there, and we'll see you for episode 6 of the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. That'll be coming up over the next day or two. So take care.